Hey guys, welcome back. This is episode 29, I believe, of our Unity Make an RPG series. And today I'm going to continue on with our stat allocation. I'm going to answer a few questions real quick. First, though, I've been getting a couple of requests to do some more visual stuff, like work on terrain and whatnot. And I'll probably jump into that once I'm done traveling, which will be in a couple weeks when I can actually use my desktop computer, just so I can. That's kind of why I've been holding off from doing more visual things. The base coding and stuff like that's a lot easier to do on a laptop and while I travel. So in a couple weeks I'll jump into the visual stuff. We can work on I can even do some Blender modeling, and then we can jump into terrain and setting up some terrain stuff. The other thing is I haven't built a lot of terrains and stuff either, so it's gonna be a learning experience for me. But my plan is when I finally move and I can use my desktop PC, I'm going to make longer videos, much longer videos, so that we can get more done in one video instead of like a 15-minute video like I try to do now. But anyways, to continue where we left off, if you remember in the last video, we had set up our stat allocation screen so that we can, again, view what all these stats do. We have the numbers here, which is of the base stat class, and we added our plus and minus buttons that add up to a certain amount and go away. This number is based on what you put in the variable points available, basically. And what you can do is, when the player levels up, or just in general, maybe they discover something, you can add more points, or give them more points that they can allocate in certain spots. That's the way I like doing it, or I think should be done. You guys can obviously change as much as you want, but this is how I like it. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the last video, and we're going to jump right in to adding a few more things. So I'm in our create new player script, and this is a script that we made a while ago, and this is basically where we started, where you could either choose to be a mage or a warrior or whatever, and whatever class that you had, and then it stored it and gave it information, and then we actually made our initial save. Now the one thing that I haven't been doing is, in our new display character, we're not storing any of these values, and what we need to do is store them so that we can use them in other parts of the program. So if you remember, we set up our create a player GUI into a state machine. So in the first state we select our class, but in our class selection we don't actually, or let me find it. We're not actually saving it anywhere. We're just making a temp class, and we need to store it somewhere. So what we're going to do is we're going to store it in that public static game information script, and then we're going to use that script throughout this entire scene. So when we click next, or when we move on to the next stage, we'll still have that information. And basically, it's exactly what we did in this store new player info from our very first character creation. So let's see, I'm trying to figure out where I want to start with this. We will go to display create player functions, and where we find our class description, this is where the player is actually selecting it, or I guess this is where we display it. Let me look. Okay, so the class selection is the value that we're storing. So basically we need to have we're going to need to create a new function. We're going to come down below final setup. Come down here, we're going to make it a private void, and it's going to be choose class. And in here, it's going to take a selection value. Just trying to think. We're going to use another class. We're going to use this other function up here. So this find class description. Let's see if I can consolidate this stuff a little bit more. So we're already looking for this class selection variable, so I didn't want to have to look for it again, but we'll do it anyways. So we're going to make a private function. It's going to be a private void. We're going to call it choose class. it's going to take a variable called int class selection, and we're going to go if class selection. So if class selection is equal to 0, we'll do 1. Oh, it's going to be 0 first. So we'll do 0, which is going to be, I think, our mage. And then we'll do 1 for a warrior. So we'll do else if class selection is equal to 1. So in these two cases, we're going to do we're going to go game information dot class is going to be equal to base new base mage class. And then if it's 2, I believe it's a warrior. I'm just going to double check real quick. Yep. So basically we're going to do the same thing up there. We'll go game information dot player class is going to be equal to a new base warrior class. I'm going to control this to save. We're going to have to make another else statement. Well, actually, control this to save. We'll go into Unity, see if we have any errors. And we shouldn't, because we haven't passed any new. We haven't changed that much. So another thing we need to do is add a next button. So go to the create a player GUI class where we have our current our state machine, and we're going to change the current state to class selection. You can control this to save. Go back to the display create player functions, and we have our display main menu, our main items, and here we're going to want a button. It's a next button or continue button if you want. So we're going to copy this button up here. Going to paste it in here. Instead of these arrows that we use to shift the character left and right, we're going to go next. We don't need this vector thing. And what this is going to do is we're going to change our current state in our player GUI, which is static. Our current state is static. So we're going to go down here. We're going to go to create player GUI dot current state. We're going to set it equal to current to create a player GUI, and our states we're going to set it to stat allocation. Now this button is only going to work once, and it's going to move us. It's going to get us stuck. So we got to put some logic in here. It's going to get us stuck, always going back to stat allocation, which isn't what we want, but it's going to work for now. So I'm going to control this to save. We'll go back to Unity. I'm going to press play, and we should start on our selection screen, which we did. So I'm going to go ahead and press our button did not show up. I think I disabled the display main menu items. Let me check. I did. So it's right here. So I forgot I commented this out. So we're going to go ahead and uncomment the display functions.display main items. Controls to save. Go back into Unity. Going to press play again, and we should see some of our buttons. So here's our next button. I need to move it. I'm going to need to shift it. So go to display create player functions. We're going to shift it just a little bit. Let's see. I think it's that from the left. So we'll shift it like, so let's see, 500. Controls to save. Go back. Just so it's a little off, so we can look. Yeah, okay. So basically, I'm going to select a mage. I'm going to hit next. We shouldn't get any errors. And what we want to do now is, instead of displaying these default values, which we had set up in our stat allocation module, we're going to change it so it displays what's in the game information module. So go back to MonoDevelop. We're going to go to our stat allocation module. And here where we have this retrieve base stat stat points, instead of this setting it to a new mage class, we're actually going to erase that. We're going to go game information dot player class. Controls to save. And just to update you guys on how we're accessing this variable, is we have a game information object here with this script attached to it, and that script is a static script that allows us to access all the different information that we want, and that's what we're accessing here. So basically, Control S to save. We'll go into Unity, and I'm going to show you that when I change between our mage and warrior class, those stats should be different. So we'll start with a mage class. We're going to hit next. Oh, we actually got an exception, so we're definitely doing something wrong. Let me look. Pause that. So we're getting an error. So player class, let's see, it's not finding it. That base player class, we're just changing states. It should be in there. So okay, so we're getting this exception, and I paused the video real quick just to figure out what I was doing wrong, and it's a very simple fix. So go ahead and stop running the program, go back into model develop, and we created this function, choose class, which we're not actually using. I'm not actually calling anywhere, which is that's what's proving to be the problem. So in our display class selection, we want to, actually I believe I'm calling all these in here. So we want to come down here, and we're going to put a public, or we want to call our choose class function that we just created. Otherwise, we're not actually saving anything in there. So I'm going to Control S to save. What we could do, actually, what we're going to do is we're going to, instead of having it run up here, we're going to have it only do it, instead of running every frame, which is what would happen, we only want that to run when the player hits the next button. So when they want to move on is when we'll save it. Right? So basically what I just did here is we created this new function called choose class, which assigns a one of our base type classes to our player class variable in our game information class, static class, and then we are going, instead of running it every frame, which I think it's every half frame is what the GUI does, instead of doing that, we're going to run it only once when they hit the next button. So when they want to move on, we'll save the class, we'll store the class that they want in this variable that we can access later on. So go ahead and Control save that, or Control S, excuse me. Go in the stat allocation module. I didn't change anything here besides I added the game information.player class here so they can be whatever your class is, or however many classes you have. It won't just be that one that we put in there originally. So this should fix the problem. I'm going to Control S to save. Okay, so we're going to hit play. And we should, next, when I hit next, so our stats are displaying fine, which is perfect. So I'm going to go ahead, so just remember we have 12, 14, 15, 10, 10, and 15. So we're going to be looking to see, when I hit play again, when I restart the program, I'm going to hit warrior, and we should see the stats change. So I'm going to hit warrior, I'm going to hit next, and now we have 15, 12, 10, 14, 13. So our stats are changing, so we're actually having what we want, which is perfect. So I'm going to go back into model develop, and I'm going to create the logic that I wanted for this button. So basically right now the button is always going to go back to the stat allocation. So it's going to be stuck in this endless loop once we get to stat allocation, which is not what we want. We only want that to happen once unless they go back. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create a couple if statements. And the first one is going to be if current state, or if create a player GUI dot current state is equal to create a player GUI create a player states. If we're in class selection, if that's true, then this is what we want to do. Then we want to save our class selection and then move on to our stat allocation. However, so else if I'm going to go ahead and copy this. If we're in stat selection, we don't want to go back to class selection if we hit next. We want to move on to our next state, which in this case I believe was base info or something. Let's see, I forgot. Final setup is what we called it, where we can choose our gender, race, I don't know, whatever you want to put in there. So So else if, so if we're not in if we're not in class selection, oh excuse me, if we're in stat allocation now, so if the current state is stat allocation, we want to move on to our what I'm trying to say, we want to move on to final selection. So this is where we'll go create a player GUI, and we'll set the current state. Set the current state to final setup. Now, there's one other thing we want to do, and we only want to display the next button if we're either in class selection or stat allocation. If we're in our final setup, we want to show a finish button instead of a next button. So we're going to go up above our if statement for our next button, and we're going to create another one. We're going to create another variable, another if statement. Getting confused. I'm going to go ahead and copy this just so to write it easier. So we're going to go if create a player.GUI or create a player GUI.current_state is equal to the double equals create a player GUI.create a player states.class selection, which we don't want. We want to make final setup. Yeah, we want to do final setup. Then we're going to do something, and I'm actually going to say if it's not equal to that, we're going to just say we're going to show this button. So just to recap real quick, I can even write some comments. So we're saying if we are not in the final setup, then show a next button. But else, we'll do else if we, oh no, I want to copy this. You can just do an else, but I'm going to be more, you can just do an else statement instead of else if, but I'm going to do else if just to make sure that we don't run into any problems. So I'm saying else if we are in the final step, if we are in the final step state, then we want to, instead of a next button, we want a finish button. So I'm going to go up here, copy this button, because we want it in the same spot. We'll say finish. And while I'm here, I'm actually going to adjust this, put this at 525 just to make it a little bit better on our screen. I'm going to go ahead and finish up here. And on the finish button is where we're going to want to make our final save. And for now, I'm just going to say, make a comment, final save. We'll go down and do a debug statement log, and we'll say, I'll put make final save. Just in case, just so we can remember to do it in a little, probably in the next video. So, recap, since I messed up my wording a lot, we made an if statement here, which basically is just looking to see what state we're in. And it's looking to see if we're not in our final setup. So if we're either in class selection or stat allocation. And if we're in either of those two, if we're in class selection or stat allocation, then we're going to show a next button. And the next button, depending on what state we're in, is going to push us to a different state. Now, if we're in our final setup state, so the last state we have for our character creation, then we're going to change that button. We're going to get rid of it and make it a finish button. And when they click on that, then we should have a debug statement that says make final save. So I'm going to Control S, going to minimize. We're going to go back into Unity. I have an issue. And can't do that. So what I did here is I put the exclamation up front, which you can't do unless you have just one statement. So what I did is saying I just changed it here, so it's saying if current state is not equal to final setup. So Control S to save, go back into Unity. I'm gonna clear it. I'm gonna press play. We shouldn't. Hopefully we don't have any. We don't. Gonna go ahead and click next. We're gonna mess around with these. They're not gonna save yet. I'm gonna hit next and see our next button changed to finish. This means that we're in the state, the final setup state. If I click it, we get make final save. So I'm gonna end the video here today. We created some logic for two buttons so we can move on, move throughout our setup. In the next video, I'm going to add a back button so that we can re-edit some of the things. So say you get down the line, you decide you want to be a warrior, you can go all the way to the back and recreate or choose the class you want and go through the setup process again. And then we'll make our final save, and then we can move on to some different stuff. If you guys have actually, before we do that, we got to do a display final setup, which is our name, our gender, and maybe a class description or bio. So after we do all that in the next video or two, if you guys want to leave some comments of what you want to see next, what you want me to try to tackle next, I can do that. Just keep in mind, I got to keep the videos shorter because, again, I'm on my laptop, and keep the videos not too graphic heavy because I am on my laptop. But definitely when I move, and again, in about 2 weeks, I'll be able to use my desktop again, my desktop PC, and I can make some more longer videos that are probably what you guys all want. So it's not so chopped up in these 10-15-minute videos. But anyways, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. I appreciate all the support, comment. The feedback has been great. And I'll talk to you guys next time.